Okay, guys, girls, have I got an amazing treat for you today? We have none other than James Schramko on the podcast. James Schramko is a founder of Superfast Business. He is what I call the coach's coach. I call him the coach's secret weapon. So many entrepreneurs use this man, work with this man. It's honestly, I'm going to call him a genius. This man, I'll tell you what he does. His greatest superpower, when I message him, you know what I'm like, I go on and on and on. I will message him a 20 page, not quite 20 page, but you get it, a 1 page question. And then I will get back literally summarized in a sentence what I was meaning to say. This guy, honestly, is a genius. He has helped me in my business with a betting guy. He has helped me do so many things. But above all, he's made me believe that it is possible to work less and make more. That is the title of his book. And I honestly just embrace it. And if you don't know James Schramko, if you've never heard of him, then I would urge you to go down the rabbit hole. James has got a podcast out and it is just tremendous. It is full of value, content, and education. Honestly, you can do it's just, as you can tell, I'm very, very excited. I'm just going to get straight on over to James. It's a great episode. And I'll be honest with you, I've interviewed some really good high up performers so far, but I have to say, I was very, very nervous doing this because this is the first time I've spoke one-to-one with James, and I embraced it. I loved it. Anyway, enjoy, guys and girls. I know you're going to get something out of it. Please let me know what you think. Here is James Schramko. Enjoy. I have James Schramko here. James, first of all, thank you so much, buddy, for your time. I've been genuinely looking forward to this since we scheduled it. So thank you for joining us today.
I've been excited about this. We've been chatting for a long time, and to be able to come along and share some ideas when we live in different countries is always special.
Yeah, absolutely. Other side of the world. James is from Australia. So James, tell us, the listeners, a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I'm pretty much an amateur surfer with a business to the side. And in all seriousness, I went through a traditional sort of job situation, built my way up through sales and then management in the car industry with Mercedes Benz. And my last job was as a general manager. I quit that in 2008 so that I could have my own business, which was an online business. I'd taught myself how to build a website. And then I started coaching online business owners with the things that I'd learned as a general manager, because a lot of them are missing vital skills. And in that time, I've built and sold a couple of website businesses, one building websites, one doing search engine optimization. I have helped a lot of people as a business coach, and that's what I do now. And I'm trying to make some more space to write books and create courses so that I can continue to educate people, but also so that I can have a pretty flexible lifestyle, which has become quite important to me over the last few years. I wanted to ease off a little bit and not grind into the ground like a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started working together, because I'm a member of your Superfast Business, I'd just come from. I put it in the podcast as my biggest failure, but I would never change it for the world because it was an amazing experience. And my second son had just been born, and I literally was working during the daytime in my storage facility, and then I was working during the night at my restaurant, and then I had my online business. And literally, I came to you because one of the things that you stand by is that you've got to have work-life balance. And I thought, you know what, I have none of that. And that is what it's really, really helped me. Now I take the kids to school, I pick them up, because I think that's going to be a priority, because if I'm happy and fulfilled, then I can make sure that I can provide for my family in a different way as well, not just monetary, but I can be also there. I can be present with them growing up as well. So I'd like to get into how you went from Mercedes Benz car salesman to one of the most sought after coaches in the world right now. How did that happen? Obviously, it's not.
Well, there was a lot of effort. Just like you, at a certain point, I was working 2 jobs. Had the day job, and then I was teaching myself how to build a website online. And I had this theory that my sales and marketing and management skills would be helpful online. I just didn't know what I wanted to sell, how I was going to sell it. And through a process of kind of akin to stumbling in the dark, really, just teaching myself, I managed to get that website up. I then finally found some products that I could actually sell that people were interested in, that paid me a commission. And once I got the start of that, it was kind of like pulling a magician's handkerchief. I just kept learning more and more, and there was more and more to learn. It's like it was never ending. It's such a limitless new language for us to absorb. And I set myself a goal that when I could make as much from my own business as I was earning as a salary, that I would quit. And it took me 2.5 years to get to that point. And I was probably in a fairly unhealthy situation where I was just working every waking minute, and I was cutting corners with family and with health. And I really needed to, I felt like Tarzan in the jungle, swinging from one vine to another. And I really needed to grab another vine, because at this time there was a financial crunch happening in the United States. And I felt like the vine I was on might fall to the jungle floor. Like, I really felt for the last year or two of going to work that it could be my last day. And I was really concerned about that, having a mortgage and having children to support. So it was like the timer was set. I had to race. And when I did get my own business, I worked really hard in it for the first few years, because I just wanted to create that momentum and propel me to a point where I had less and less compromise. And I'd have to say, truthfully, in the last 5 years, I've really turned the focus more on finding leverage and finding effectiveness in doing simpler things, doing less things, having less pressure, and even saying, I don't want as much money as I could earn, but I'm happy to have a life, and I want to be able to surf every day, and I want to spend time improving my health and being with my family. And that's made such a difference to my quality of life. And it's certainly battle tested with recent changes to the global economy and health crisis situation. It's really been able to let me pressure test the system that I've built. And I was ready for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of notes I've just kept there. After reading your book, Work Less, Make More, you said just get 1 extra hour sleep a night. And I actually invested in an Aurora ring. And I can't tell you the big difference that sleeping more makes to you, how happy you are, your mentality. And it's not even that I look at it now as I'm investing time in sleep, because then I'm more effective when I'm at work. And so I can do more. That hour in bed, it means that I can probably churn out probably an hour and a half's more focused work. And so it's actually an investment making that time. Another thing you mentioned about the economic climate at the time, well, it's kind of like it is now with the pandemic that's going around. I know Australia isn't as badly hit as we are, but that's exactly what I've been focusing on now. Is my normal business is a self-storage business. It's going fantastic, and to be honest, it's only dropped by 15.7% in terms of revenue. So I feel very, very blessed. But it's kind of a wake-up call that you think, hang about a minute, I'm only got one big source of income. I need to diversify and make sure that I have other streams. And so now I'm trying to go not back into online, because I've got 3 different podcasts. One of them I make money from, but it's made me more aware, thinking, okay, if anything like this does happen again, it hasn't affected storage as much as I first thought it might do, but it just makes me feel vulnerable. And I've got 2 kids at home, I've got a wife, I've got a mortgage, and all of a sudden, what happens if all that is taken away? So I can definitely relate to that. So when clients come to you, James, what do you normally offer them? How do you get the best out of a relationship?
Well, I need to do my research, and I need to understand the situation in great detail to be able to help them make the right moves. So it involves a large degree of empathy. I have to put myself in their shoes. So in order to do that, I need to know what shoes they're wearing. I need to know what we're dealing with. Like, I do what you would call in an education format a gap analysis. And that helps me see what's happening. And then I combine that with my own knowledge of what I know is possible, having a good data set that I can draw from. I can see what other people have done, what's working. And then I can say, well, based on your situation, based on the shoes you're wearing, and taking into account what variables you would like for your life goals, because everyone's got a different goal.
Yeah.
Then I'll say these are the things I'm aware of, and these would be the likely steps to get there, and this is my recommendation. And then I'll help them go through the steps and keep tabs on them, and answer their invariable sort of questions that will come up as they go through the process, because it's a new journey for them. And I'm kind of like a Sherpa. I've been to the top of the mountain a few times. I know the path, but it's still going to be hard for them the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we first started working together, I had the Betting Guy podcast, and it was going well. We had 60,000 downloads per month, and I just tested whether, because you said about testing the market, see what they want, and we came up with a membership site, and it was incredible, because all of a sudden I realized the power of the market and the audience, and we had a launch, and it was a 5-figure launch straight away with following your systems and what you're training inside the membership. And I've got to say, honestly, genuinely, that one step alone, in the end, we ended up making 6 figures, and there was no advertising whatsoever. It was just from the audience, and it was a very, very simple process of giving them something that they wanted. And you kept saying to me, I've been going back for the notes, and one of the things that you often say is an offer that converts. You just need an offer that converts, and when you find that offer that converts, that's the key thing there, and then you can build upon that. So that James, genuinely, that moment just changed my life, because I found out what was possible there and then. What type of business owners do you normally attract?
Firstly, thank you for sharing that story. It always touches me hearing that sort of stuff, because it's one of the big reasons I'm motivated to do it. And it was lovely that you were able to tap into a resource that was sitting right under your nose, i.e. your existing customer base. That's really one of my first starting places. Is to go for that existing customer base. So to answer your question, what was the question again?
What sort of people do you normally attract? What business owners do you normally attract?
Right. Predominantly online businesses, and then I categorize them into different levels of revenue, which is usually just an indicator of size and complexity. So now I've got kind of 4 separate groups. And that was like people who are just in the early phases and want a sort of easy access to some information. Then the next level up is a bracket of people who have already had some success and they're going okay, but they'd like to go much better, up to a point where I would say that you'd class them as a good sort of strong intermediate. And then I have a group that's sort of for more the advanced intermediates through to advanced, and they're doing more high level stuff, and often they're having different problems and challenges than you have when you're starting out. And that sort of work is exciting for me and keeps me on my toes, and it generates a lot of good byproduct, which is notes and resources that help me create information products and books that can help other people learn from the same sort of problems that other people are having.
Yeah, absolutely. And just when I said about making the 6 figures and stuff, it genuinely changed my life, because I remember that we went on, when I kind of invested it in my family, and we went to Disney World, we went on family trips. And for me now, that's one of my non-negotiables every single year, to make sure that we set a time that we go on holiday. And obviously not now, I can't go on holiday now, but yeah, we went to Disney World, and then memories and stuff was incredible. And it's like kind of like an anchor now of what is possible from online business. I know that you're a big believer in the 80-20 rule. And so what is a 20% of effort that gets 80% of your results? I love asking this question.
For me, I really just have to look after my existing customers and then do some marketing activities to generate more awareness and get new customers. And then a little bit of leadership, not much, because I have a very experienced, established team that I've built over the years. And they're very autonomous and quite brilliant, actually. So they support me, and they do the things that I'm not that good at, or that I shouldn't be doing, don't want to do. If I'm open about it, the things I just don't want to do that don't excite me as much as they do other people, and they're happy to do it. So it's a nice sort of arrangement, but mostly just looking after existing customers and thinking about my business and in my downtime, which I have plenty of, because I only work 20 to 25 hours a week now, I have a lot of time to think about stuff and to contemplate, and finding myself being more philosophical now than I used to be. I just didn't have time for that before. But, when I was surfing today, I was thinking about, humanity and other people. Why should they care if another person's sick or not? The comment that I saw in a group today was someone wanted to do this activity, but they said it was so expensive that they would have to give up a kidney. And then I was thinking, I wonder if someone else gave up their kidney for this person to go on the trip, would they care that much about the other person missing a kidney? Or would they be just happy that they got their own needs satisfied? So it's very philosophical and deep.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had those sort of conversations with myself before.
Yeah, I love conversations like that, and it's really, really deep. And sometimes I go down that route, and for me, it's very fulfilling as well. And when you talk about the 80-20, I've got now Jo, who works with me from the Philippines. She's been working with me for just over a year now, and she's absolutely amazing. She'll be doing the show notes for this, and it just frees me up now just to do the recording. That's all I do here, just do the recording, talk to you. And then Jo does the rest, and it makes such a big difference as well that it almost makes it pleasurable, because I didn't not almost, but I mean I didn't like doing the editing. I hate doing the editing of my podcast, and it's something that I shouldn't be doing. I learned that from you, and something else I learned from you was making sure that you have systems and procedures where you have standard operating procedures. You do the task once, and you can record yourself doing it, and that then has a massive return on investment on your time, because then that can be given to one other team member and another team member, and therefore that time that you've invested there is actually showing them how to do it, and then ultimately it's taking that task off your plate. And I know you're a big believer in systems and procedures and SOPs, and so how does the SOPs help you and your business?
Well, it's the DNA of the business, really. It's the muscle memory. You think of a camp song, when you go and sit around the fire and you sing a song, everyone knows the words to the classic songs. And that's because they've just sort of been entrenched into, how you're brought up. So the people in my team have standard operating procedures in the beginning, but then they learn them so well. I don't think they refer to them that often, unless there's a new person, which is rare these days. Then they can refer back and say, look, here's the hymn book we're singing from. Here are the words, learn them, and they can follow, and they'll end up with the exact same structure. So things will be done precisely, without errors, efficiently. And when there are changes, and that's the nature of life and business, there'll be constant changes. It just gets updated. So I found something today that needed updating. My team had copied one product in our website to put a new product, and they'd also they'd forgotten to update the page title on the new product. So I said, we probably want to update the SOP to check the page title when we duplicate a product. And they said, yep, updated, thanks boss. And so now the next time they duplicate a product, then they'll go and check the page title and update that as well, because it didn't automatically happen. So that's an example of using them on the run. The best thing is you don't have to do it yourself. And, I really hear you out on that editing. I've published quite a lot of podcast episodes, and I definitely did not like listening back to my own voice.
I hate it.
And having to cut out ums and ahs and get a better version of me from it. I have literally saved 1,000 hours of my life by having someone else do that, and that's worth it for me.
What a way to look at it. You've saved 1,000 hours, and what can you invest 1,000 hours in if it's maybe growing your business or cementing the relationship?
It's 1,000 surfs, which it improves my health and fitness and well-being and enjoyment. I smile more when I surf than when I edit a podcast.
Absolutely. I think this is a great segue then into your book, Work Less, Make More. And like I was saying before we pressed record, I think the biggest takeaway I got was the effective hourly rate. Can you just tell the listeners a little bit about effective hourly rate? Because it really does have the potential to change. I know this gets branded around so much, but it really can change your life.
Yeah, it's just being aware of how much your time is worth. And it's a simple formula. If you have a job, then your hourly wage is effectively your hourly rate, because that's what the company will pay you when you do the work before tax. So if you're on a $10 or a £10 per hour wage, then that's your effective hourly rate. 1 hour's work equals £10. If you are an entrepreneur, there's a good chance you have no idea what your effective hourly rate is, because most people haven't calculated it. And simply your revenue, subtract all your costs, and then divide by the number of hours that you actually worked to generate that revenue. A simple example: if you made £20,000 a month and your costs were £10,000, then your profit would be £10,000 a month. And if you worked 100 hours, then it probably works out at £100 an hour, something like that.
Yeah.
You can check my math, but effectively, anytime you're spending an hour on something, you want to make sure that it's worth £100. If it's not, you should hire someone for a lower wage, and then you can actually get that time back, and you can increase your effective hourly rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've got different businesses and different podcasts and stuff that give me revenue, and my effective hourly rate is completely different from one to another. But then also, I've actually just give up the betting guy, where I get $40,000 a year from sponsorship, and it takes me 3 hours a week. But and so my effective hourly rate is really big on that. But the problem is, it doesn't fulfill me anymore. It used to. That used to be the old Dean, because I used to have a betting shop. I sold it, and that was a way of me continuing into my I don't know, because I used to have, everybody used to call me the betting guy, and I used to be known as that. That was part of my identity. So to keep that identity after I sold the betting shop was to create a podcast, and it fulfilled something that in my life I needed fulfilling. But although I had a good effective hourly rate, it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. So I've just last week, I've actually given notice with the sponsors and said, look, this is the last season of it, because although I'm earning good money isn't everything. Like you've already mentioned, you've mentioned today, less money for something, but there's more balance. And I do now, and I dread. It's not just the 3 hours a week that I put in, or 2 hours a week. It's the dread going up to it for the couple of hours. And so
it's compromise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one, I feel like I've made the right decision, because moving forward, it's better for me as a whole. But for two, the effective hourly rate of that podcast was very, very high. So would you consider that as the right thing to do, because I didn't enjoy it?
Yes, if you've got the capacity to make income somewhere else. I literally switch off income streams on a regular basis. When I was promoting my first product as an affiliate, I actually turned it off when I felt the product was no longer the best solution in the market. That was a $5,000 US per month income. I just turned it off because I didn't feel it was a good solution to offer people. Therefore, my values decided that I shouldn't offer that. And in its place, I ended up creating a website development business that generated more income than that. It just took a little bit of time to do the crossover, but I felt good about that because I had the right solution now. Yeah. I sold that business when I didn't feel that that's the right thing for people to do anymore as well. So I'm very values driven. I've really ramped down my personal coaching in the high level field now because I want to get that time back for my family and myself. And I want to reinvest that time into my books and information products. So I'm turning off a very high income stream at the top end to substitute that. I've turned off $10,000 per month coaching students about 7 or 8 years ago to redirect that time to my managers. I turned off 2 retail consultancy type clients to, when they became a very small part of my overall business, and it was just a pain in the butt to be responsible for it, to think about it, to put time and energy into it. I just cut it. And the best story that I could share with this is around when I had a neighbor who was, quite good at gardening. And one morning I came out to my front yard and all of my beautiful rose bushes had been cut back to stumps. And I saw this guy and I knew he was a gardener. I said, hey, check this out. Someone's vandalized my garden. And he goes, oh, no, I did that. And I'm like, sorry, did I do something wrong? Did I run over your bin or bump into your car or something? He goes, oh, no, they'll come back really good. They'll come back strong. And I'm like, are you sure about this? He goes, yes, they grow back strong. and they came back so vibrant and beautiful. What he'd done is just cut off all um, the dead stalks that, where the roses had already bloomed. They were just sucking energy from the soil and wasting it. So when he cut it back, it redirected the growth somewhere better, and it came out strong. So I'm a big fan of trimming, purging, deleting, switching off things that aren't ticking the boxes for you, because it's your life, and why not redirect that energy into things that make you happier?
I love that. Yeah. And for me, I just wasn't putting my all in. So I felt like a kind of fraud, because I knew that I wasn't putting as much effort into doing the podcast as I used to be. It was kind of, I was just doing it because I had to. So yeah.
I definitely think about selling it or asking the sponsor, if they want to buy it and put their own host in or whatever. Of course, I've sold businesses where I didn't want to do them anymore, and that's a double win.
Yeah,
I don't have to do them anymore, and I get paid for it.
Yeah, I've actually I've been in touch with another business owner in the field. He's an entrepreneur as well, and I've actually gifted him the podcast. And I probably should have sold it, but I kind of feel
gifted
like
a couple of clients to my students and said, "Look, I don't do this anymore. Who wants it?" And I gave it to them. And I'm a firm believer that karma will kick in, and something good will happen to you. You'll fall into something positive just because you've done something good for the universe.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, it doesn't kind of align with my values now, earning money from gambling and betting, because I've seen firsthand with my friends who have got become problem gamblers. It doesn't kind of align with me wanting to make money from gambling and betting. That's one of the reasons I give it up, and that's another reason why I didn't actually want to sell it on. I wanted to give it to somebody who I know is genuinely cares about the audience as well. So that was important to me. So James, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you going?
I'm very focused. I'm really, I feel like it's probably a healthy addiction compared to other ones people could have. It's, it gets me in the water every day, and it's fun, and it's challenging, and it excites me, and I'm constantly dreaming about it and thinking about it. It really does excite me. It's hard to explain. I think, people who are that into something would understand it, whatever it is, whether it's mountain biking or painting. And I'm sure there's gamblers who are that into the gambling, but it's, that really does motivate me. But also I'm inspired when people I work with get results, because at the end of the day, it does make me feel significant and appreciated. And I get that praise, and it helps my self-esteem to know that I'm doing good work, and that, that work's going out there, people get results. It's like a little pat on the back. I think if we understand ourselves from a deep psychological perspective, it's nice to do good work and to feel good about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Significance is I know that is one of the things that drives me. And this is a daily motivational kind of podcast. We do one interview per week, and the rest of it is just me documenting what I've learned I try to read like 2 books a week. I listen to podcasts all the time. And somebody on Facebook actually got in contact with me and says, I've been feeling down during lockdown, but I just wanted to say, don't know this guy at all, but your podcast has made a real difference. And it was just that little message, James. It just lit me up. That guy couldn't, there was no way he could have known how much inspiration and motivation he gave me just by that little post. And so I try to, give something back to him as well. And it gives me significance. It meant that the work I'm doing is meaningful to somebody. And if it's impacted just one person, it massively cheered me up. So final question, James, before I get into the quick fire round, if you could give yourself, your younger self, one bit of advice from 20 years ago, what would you give him and why?
I'd say it's going to end up okay. It'll all be fine. Because there's difficult challenges along the way. And I think you mentioned this earlier. These things had to happen. They had to happen for you to have what you have now, for you to have those lessons and the gift of adversity and challenge. Was fortunate, and I've somehow landed on my feet, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. Do you know what I always say, that things happen for you and not to you? And when you're going through something, this too will pass. And it really will. Whether you're going through a hard time right now, it will pass. And whether you're going through
good advice.
Sorry?
That's good advice.
Yeah, it really will, and so many people get that. I always believe that people in life, there's always good and bad things that happen to us, and if you're focused on the negative, then you will see the negative. If you're focused on the positive, then you will see more positive. It depends on which lenses you're looking through. And for me, yeah, this too will pass. Never doesn't matter if you're going through good times or bad times. You will get through the bad times, and the good times, unfortunately, they may come to an end and something may happen. There may be a bump in the road, but again, you'll get through that as well. So just want to finish up with a quick fire round, James. 5 questions for fun, 1 sentence answers. I think I know what you're going to say for this one. What does your perfect day look like?
Every day I have right now.
That sounds awesome. Include surfing. Give us 1 tool that you can't live without.
Email.
Yeah, true. What's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Surfing.
Recommend 1 book that the audience could get some value out of, apart from yours. And we'll link to yours in the show notes.
Psycho-Cybernetics. Maxwell Maltz.
Yeah, quality book. And what's the best advice you have ever received?
Question everything.
Yeah, love it. And so if people wanted to find out more about you, James, I'm sure that most of the audience will know about you already, but if they wanted to find out more, where would they go?
Superfastbusiness.com.
Excellent. I'll link all that in the show notes as well. James, all of us have to say is thank you so much, buddy. I've really, really genuinely enjoyed this call. It's been awesome. I know that I'll be watching it back. It's just, I'm just grateful for your time, buddy. And thank you for all you've done. You've made a massive, I'm not just saying this, you genuinely made a huge impact in my life. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for taking action. I couldn't have had success without you. So, you inspire people, and I love what you're doing, and I love your energy and creativity and your values. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
My pleasure, James. Well, thank you so much, buddy.